My name is Tom Waters, and I'm jumping on the Game of Thrones hype train. In the Game of Thrones universe, we bear witness to high-level marketing strategies. Since mass communication does not exist in their world, we are offered a rare glimpse into the fundamental techniques required to effectively publicize and maintain a position of influence. Each house has a sigil to herald their nobility from a distance and create distinctions between their territories. More importantly, each house has a family motto, which they use to signal the spirit of their values to everyone else. The reputation of a house is the bedrock to which all other means of influence is based upon.
It's the family name that lives on. It's all that lives on.
As Tywin Lannister points out, power and influence will rise and fall depending on the public perception of a brand.
If another house can seize one of our own and hold him captive with impunity, we are no longer a house to be feared.
House sigils and their family mottos are a primitive form of mass communication. It is one of the oldest means of building authority and still remains effective to this day. Call them sigils, mottos, logos, slogans, whatever you want. By creating a core message that is easy to remember and easy to identify, you build an image that precedes you, one that becomes larger than the sum of your parts. The effects of this process satisfy one of the fundamental pillars of persuasion. The ethos of an identity defines the spirit of its mission or values. It is the foundation of credibility and can be effectively called upon to convince your audience that your arguments are worth listening to. It is why marketers assign so much importance to brand building. Ethos is one of the 3 tenets of persuasion outlined by the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Although written over 2,300 years ago, his teachings have laid the groundwork for modern sales theory. In order to be an effective influencer, you must appeal to each of these principles. In today's episode, we'll examine each tenet of persuasion and see how ethos is the thread that connects all 3. Let's first have a look at how Tyrion Lannister applies his family name to support a logical argument that convinces a total stranger to take action on his behalf. The root word for logic, logos, is the second tenet of persuasion. It is applied by walking your audience through a step-by-step argument and using evidence to support your claim. In this scene, Tyrion is an unknown prisoner in a foreign territory, but his house name and credibility is widely acknowledged across the realm.
About the gold.
Now gold! Now gold!
Listen to me. Sometimes possession is an abstract concept.
Tyrion realizes that his approach is far too complicated for his current audience, so he chooses his words carefully to lead his jailer to a logical conclusion.
Have you ever heard the phrase, rich as a Lannister? Of course you have. You're a smart man. You know who the Lannisters are. I am a Lannister. A Lannister always pays his debts. If you deliver a message from me to Lady Arryn, I will be in your debt. I will owe you gold.
By helping his jailer follow the necessary logical steps to come to a sound conclusion, Tyrion showcases a textbook example of persuading through the use of logos.
What message?
Part of why we love Tyrion so much is because, unlike many other characters, he cannot always rely on the threat of violence to get his way. He must persuade through critical thinking and masterful execution of rhetoric. Tyrion relies on the authority carried by his family name, but what do you do when your brand has lost its authority? All that's left of the Targaryen legacy is Daenerys. Her house has fallen, her people slaughtered, and in order to retake the throne, she must single-handedly garner enough support to conquer an entire continent. It's a pretty tall order, and she starts off as a real rookie. To be honest, much of her rise to power seems to stem directly from betrayal, pure luck, and I have dragons, I have dragons, I have dragons.
Where are my dragons?
But Daenerys quickly understands the rules behind Game of Thrones. Through grit and creativity, Daenerys demonstrates true persuasive genius worthy of a crown. She manages to become beloved by the slave population across the entire eastern continent. She establishes herself as a beacon of freedom by leveraging another important tenet of persuasion. Pathos is a means to persuade through emotional triggers. In the following scene, Daenerys' goal is to take over the city of Meereen, which is highly protected and well-funded. But instead of fighting them head-on, she creates a compelling persuasive argument to convince the inhabitant slaves of the region to rise up from within the city walls and assist her in her conquest. She constructs an immensely creative appeal to emotions by first inciting feelings of fear. The siege engines represent the strength of her power. But just when the enslaved people are ducking in fear, she hits them with an even greater emotion: hope. By appealing to the universal desire for liberty, Daenerys gives us the perfect example for leveraging pathos to rally a group in order to take action. So the three tenets of persuasion, as defined by Aristotle, are as follows. Logos, the method of persuasion that uses evidence and reasoning to influence a conclusion. Pathos, the root word for sympathy or apathy. Pathos is an appeal to an emotional response. Ethos literally translates to character. It requires the ability to distinguish oneself as having strong credibility, morality, or wisdom. It shows that you are a person worth listening to. In this final segment, we take a closer look at the powerful effects of what I consider to be the most important tenet of persuasion: ethos. Earlier in the episode, we examined how the great houses leveraged a primitive form of branding to build their influence and authority. The Game of Thrones world is brutal, so a significant effort is taken by many houses to establish their ethos as fierce or violent. Other houses choose to speak toward their strength or their honor, but there's one house that truly differentiates itself from every other noble family, and their words provide a clue as to why we love them so much. The Stark motto is "Winter is coming."
Winter is coming. Oh, that's memorable.
Aside from being totally badass, "Winter is coming" is a truly distinct motto. The other mottos are self-important, making boastful claims to show that their houses are more honorable, or braver, or stronger than the rest. But the Stark motto unites the people as one collective unit by acknowledging a larger threat.
He won't be a boy forever, and winter is coming.
Winter is Coming focuses on a common interest that affects both the native and the noble, a cause that everyone in the community can rally behind. The Stark's commitment to morality takes the concept of ethos to a deeper level. In our final scene, we examine everyone's favorite hero and explore how credibility is earned, not just branded. Here, Jon Snow is faced with the near impossible task of rallying a community of outsiders that have been fighting his people for hundreds of years.
You shouldn't have to come to Winterfell with me. I shouldn't be asking you. It's not the deal we made. I need you with me if we're going to beat them, and we need to beat them if you're going to survive.
It is not logic or fear or compassion that compels the free folk to join him in his fight. They are won over by his character, the sincerity of his argument, and the nobility of his leadership.
The crows killed him because he spoke for the free folk where no other southerners would.
He died for us. If we are not willing to do the same for him, we're cowards.
And if that's what we are,
We deserve to be the last of the free folk.
Jon Snow is not without his flaws, but unlike many of the other characters, his personal ethos is built on unwavering integrity and self-sacrificial leadership. This supports his rise to power, and is exactly why he's so beloved by us as an audience. Even if you don't have flowing hair and steely eyes, if you learn to identify these persuasive principles, in time, you too can become the king in the north.
The king in the north!
Want to learn more about sales theory and pop culture? Be sure to like and subscribe to get notified of our next segment.